Lots of clients just want to talk, to have a bond, to forget something. Sometimes that bond is simply business, but it's no surprise that people do fall in love. People ask Reddit. Sex workers of Reddit, have you ever fallen in love with a John? What happened afterwards? I was going through a stressful time in my life and things weren't working out the way I had hoped. I was single and was always making time for other people and never felt like I was getting what I wanted in life. I knew nothing about sex workers at the time, and had never seen one before. I did some research for about a month or so and came across this girl's ad. She seemed legit and, from what I could see in her pictures, rather attractive. I booked her and was beyond nervous scared leading up to the appointment. When the day came, I went over and the cutest girl ever opened the door and welcomed me in. We talked about ourselves pretty much the entire night. I had only intended for this to be a one-time deal since it's so expensive, lol. But I decided to see her a few more times. I noticed she started letting me overstay my appointment time more each visit, and I started getting suspicious. I didn't know if this was normal, or if she was into me. I liked her a lot, but I figured this was her job and she probably just wanted to keep me, a steady income, around. She started doing other favors like making me dinner, and my mind started going crazy and had to know what was going on. So I confessed that I liked her and hoped that was okay, and asked her to clarify what she had been doing, and what it meant. Turns out she totally had feelings for me. We decided to date and now we're getting married. When I was in Amsterdam, I did a red light tour, and the tour guide told us how when he was young and inexperienced he shopped around the windows for a while, found the beautiful woman he'd ever seen, and kept coming back until he worked up his nerve. Eventually he went in, stayed in there talking to her until about 4 a.m, then she took him back to her place. That was 9 years before he told us the story, and they've been together since then. She still worked as a sex worker and he was so open about everything. It was really interesting to get such an outlook from a tour guide. My fiancée is a stripper at a bikini bar. I used to frequent her club because my friend's sister was a bartender there and would hook me up on my bar tab. I met my fiancée and got to know her pretty well over the next 2.5 years, then one night we were both there for my friend's, the bartender, birthday and got pretty drunk. She told me she had a crush on me and then later said she wanted to go home with me, which she did. A year to the day after that I asked her to marry me, and I've been in the best relationship of my life for almost 4 years. Related only, but one of my friends with unlimited business expenses was hosting in New York City clients from London. That night ended up at a strip club across the street from my home, and $1,000 in lap dance tickets, $20 each, in the middle of the table. I tried one, not my thing, so I pocketed 3 of the tickets as souvenirs. A year later, my nephew was visiting me as he turned 21, so I gave him the 3 tickets and sent him to the strip club. He did not return, but called at 8 a.m. I'm making breakfast over at Don's place. They went out for a few months. I worked as a stripper and fell in love with the manager. I saw girls always fawning over him, leaving some tips on stage so he would bring them back to the dressing room and they could flirt with him. I assumed it was a phase and tried to ignore my feelings. At the time I was suffering from chronic pain and an eating disorder. He just cared so much and went out of his way to help. We've now been married for 15 years and have 3 children. A friend of mine's sister and her friend are sex workers. They both fell in love with the same customer. The bloke was a bikie and I'm pretty sure they loved the free drugs he gave them, not him. They had a huge blowout over this guy and basically didn't take long before they stopped communicating. They both confessed their love for him and he cut ties with both because he wanted to spend more time with his wife. If you want to support our new channel, please hit the like and subscribe button. We would also love to read some feedback in the comments. Thank you very much. I did a short stint as a stripper. One night I had an odd guy come tip me while I was on stage and kept trying to get my number. After I got the guy to leave me alone, another man got out of his booth and threw $20 at me, praising me for how I dealt with the weirdo. I finished my set on stage and sat down with that guy to thank him and chat. He had his boss in the booth with him and it turns out his boss loves anime as much as I do, so we hit it off. I was a part-time stripper so my schedule was inconsistent, but boss man always tried to come by and buy me drinks and just chat. He never wanted a lap dance or to go to the back room, always just wanted to have conversations with me. We talked about anything and everything. We were the same kind of weird. We exchanged numbers shortly before I abruptly left the industry and disappeared for months to try repair the crappy abusive relationship I was in, but we never texted each other. When I was in a dark place surrounded by unsupportive people, I texted him out of the blue asking if he wanted to hang out. He was so excited. According to some of the dancers that worked at the club, in the months after I vanished he would check every weekend to see if I was working, and when he didn't see me he would leave. In any case, one date led to another and now we're engaged. We're still working out the perfect alibi for our families on how we met, but most of our close friends know the whole story. Reply: Hey, I dated a stripper for a long time and I told my parents she was a bartender. Explained the late nights and interesting outfits. Eventually they asked if we could visit her at the bar and I freaked out and said she worked at a gay bar. The obvious follow-up question was what I was doing at a gay bar. Just having a drink, of course. My parents are still confused about me. Friend of mine did. She'd been sex trafficked, held against her will to work off her visa, and had her passport confiscated. He was a client of hers, and when they got close enough she told him her story and he worked with law enforcement to get her out. They've been married over a decade now. Using my throwaway. I was a sugar baby the moment I turned 18. Started having sex with a 60-year-old doctor. I was poor, so the constant showering of gifts, money, dinners, vacations, and clothes, I guess, made me fall in love with him. All I would think about was Lonnie, fake name, and what amazing thing Lonnie had planned for us that day. One day I get a call from Lonnie and he tells me, we can't see each other anymore because he had caught feelings for me. I took this as my opportunity to tell him how I felt, and I really thought we would get married. He then told me, I can't be in love with a whore, so I have to let you go and move on to another girl I don't have feelings for. I was broken and depressed for a long time. I ended up using some of the money he gave me for therapy and eventually I got over it. From the customer side, I was in a relationship with a sex worker, one of the best of my life. We met as you would imagine, but without going into too many details, she was different and I soon became obsessed. I would see her every chance got. I was living in another country at the time, so had no real friends, and she helped me with a lot of things, getting an apartment set up and stuff like that. I hoped we were heading for more than a client/customer relationship, but did not want to jinx it. One day she did not take the money I left out, and when I pointed that out she got upset and basically told me I was an idiot for not noticing that we were now in a relationship. She was a sex worker for a few months and mainly had regular. After that it was just me and her. I loved her and I know she felt the same about me. We were together for a little over a year, and even when we broke up we stayed friends. That was over 10 years ago and we stayed in touch after. We have been on holiday together since. She has visited me at home. She has now moved back home, is running a successful business, and is getting married soon to a guy who really looks after her. I still care about her and I'm glad that she is happy. Edit: to clarify, when I wrote her soon-to-be husband looks after her, I meant he cares about her, not that he is a sugar daddy like some people have suggested. I'll start with my story to get the ball rolling. Former sex worker. When I was 18 I began seeing a married man in his early 40s who treated me with respect, genuinely listened and helped me with my school, and we hung out a lot too without having sex. After about 3 months of seeing him almost every day I started to become attached. Then one day I told him that I thought I was in love with him and he told me, I still love my wife. I only keep you around for your head game. I was devastated and never saw him again. Ironically, I ended up in the only healthy relationship I've ever been in. We just clicked on our first date, laughing and having so much fun, and felt like best friends after the second date. We are getting married soon. My boyfriend is so smart, so hardworking, and such a good dad. He's so sweet and nurturing to me. He's actually the only boyfriend who has treated me like an actual person and cares about actually knowing who I am. If I listed all the things I love about him, my comment would be so long that nobody would read it. Being a sex worker is not what most people imagine. They think it's getting treated like garbage by perverted, hideous sadists. Just gritting your teeth to get through horrible, disgusting experiences. I mostly only met guys who were divorced, worked from home, and new to the area, just hadn't had any luck on dating apps. They were all normal guys with good education and a good head on their shoulders, just lonely, or too busy/not interested in having a girlfriend at the moment. I only slept with guys I enjoyed spending time with. It was actually a big step up from the guys I had normally dated. The few people who did treat me like a piece of garbage to throw away were people in my life who judged my choice. Thank you for listening to another B-Town Reddit Stories episode. Hit the subscribe button and check out our channel for more stories. Let us know your opinion about this topic in the comments.